We can't add a's at the end.
For what? Countable or uncountable?
In uncountable, we can't
Very
add.
good. Yes. For countable nouns, we have a singular and we have a plural form, right? And for uncountable nouns, we have only singular form, okay? For example, here, it says, we have a singular and plural form. For example, we can say a tree, and we can say also two trees, right? As you said, we add an S, or we make the word in plural. And we can use a singular verb or we can use a plural verb. For example, the book is old or the books are old. Okay, these are for the countable nouns. Then we have the uncountable nouns. For the uncountable nouns, we have only one form, the singular form. We don't have a plural form. Okay, so we say bother, we don't say bothers, right? Bother. And we use just a singular verb. Sugar is sweet. We cannot say sugar are sweet, right? So it's uncountable. And then we cannot use a, an, or a number before a countable noun. For example, we cannot say a rice or a bread or two rice or two bread, right? This is incorrect. Okay, so these are some of the differences that we have between countable nouns and uncountable nouns. I want you to tell me what categories of uncountable nouns do you think there are? What uncountable nouns do you remember? Any ideas? No? Okay, so we have uncountable nouns and we have different categories for these uncountable nouns, okay? One of the categories is abstract ideas. So things that we cannot touch, these are abstract, okay? For example, love, freedom, education, luck, and here we have a lot of examples about abstract ideas, okay? Then we have also made of smaller parts. So things that are made or of smaller parts. For example, sugar, we have grains of sugar, right? Rice, salt, sand, all these things that are made of smaller parts are uncountable too. We have some food, okay? Some food that are uncountable. For example, bread, fish, cheese, chocolate, okay? So are the food that we need to cut into smaller parts to eat them, okay? Comida que debemos cortar en partes pequeñas para comerla. Estas tipos de comidas son incontables, okay? So then we have liquids and gases, okay? So we have water, milk, wine, all these liquids. Materials too, for example, as wood, glass, paper, all these uncountable. And we have to be careful because some words in Spanish can be countable and in English uncountable. For example, advice. Advice, what is advice in Spanish?
Consejo.
Consejo, right? And in Spanish, this word is countable or uncountable?
Countable.
It's countable. We can say one, un consejo, dos consejos, right? But in English, the word is uncountable. Okay, for example, we cannot say two advices, right? We can say advice, give advice. And if we want to say more than one, we can say pieces of advice. Okay, she gave me some pieces of advice. Okay, so this word is uncountable as the other examples that we have here: furniture, work, news. Okay, so this is a review about countable and uncountable. Okay, so let's try here. Let's go to the book. Tell me, which of the words in yellow are countable? And which of the words in yellow are uncountable? For example, here, books. What do you think? Countable or uncountable?
Countable.
Countable. Documents.
Countable.
Countable, right? Then we have here work.
Uncountable.
Uncountable, right? Then we have here time. Uncountable, right? Companies.
Countable.
Countable. People.
Countable.
Countable. Effort.
What's in for
Uncountable because we cannot touch this, right? We cannot touch this. Let's go to the next part. Here we have time, people, space.
Uncountable.
Uncountable. Then we have energy.
Uncountable.
Uncountable. And then we have time again. Okay, very good. And if you can see, these words
Yes.
are, before these words, we have some quantifiers, okay? So we are going to learn or remember a little bit more about the quantifiers that we can use with countable and uncountable nouns, okay? We use some and any. Do you remember when do we use some and when do we use any? Countable or uncountable? For example, some. When do we use some? For countables or uncountable?
Countable.
Countable. For example, can you give me a sentence? A sentence with some and a countable noun? Any of you? Cualquiera.
I have some books for you.
I have some books for you. Okay, very good. So we use some with countable nouns and plural nouns. Books, some books, right? Okay. Any other idea? Just for countables?
I had some works last year.
I have some.
Works.
Okay, work is uncountable, so we don't add an S to work. Okay, I have some work. Okay, some, it is also used for uncountable nouns. Okay, for example, let me see. Some sugar, we can say, I want some sugar, or do you have some sugar? Okay, so we have some for uncountable nouns too. So some, it is used in both. What about any? When do we use any? Do you remember? Any? Countable? Lucia?
Uncountable, teacher.
Uncountable?
Uncountable.
Okay, for example?
Negative sentence.
Negative
Yes.
sentences and uncountable. Okay, for example?
Teacher, for
Do you
example.
have any rice?
Do you have any rice? Okay, but this is not a negative sentence. This is a question, right?
Question. Yes. In a
Yes.
question.
So we can use any for questions too. Okay, and for negative sentences, I want you to give me an example of a negative sentence.
I have an example, teacher.
Please?
There aren't any students in the class, maybe?
There aren't any students in the class. So we use any for countable and for uncountable noun. Okay, let's see some examples. Okay, we use a or an for singular countable nouns. Remember that we say we use a or an for singular countable nouns. We use a when we have a word that starts with a consonant. For example, bottle. Okay, so here we have a consonant. There is a bottle on the table. Then we use an when we have a word that starts with a vowel. Okay, there is an apple on the table, right? Esto es algo que ya ustedes saben. A for consonants and N for vowels. Very good. Let's go to the next part. Some and any. Okay? So we use some when we have affirmative sentences. Okay? For example, there is some cheese in the fridge. Okay? So cheese, what is this? Countable or uncountable? Cheese, what is this?
Uncountable.
Uncountable.
This is uncountable, right? So we use some with uncountable nouns and affirmative sentences. But also we use some with countable nouns, but plural countable nouns. Okay? For example, there are some apples in the fridge. Apples is plural and is countable. And my sentence is affirmative. Okay, so for affirmative sentences, I can use some. For plural countable nouns and for uncountable nouns. Okay? Then we have negative sentences. Okay, here we have. We use any for negative sentences, for plural countable nouns and for uncountable nouns. Okay, for example, there isn't any cheese in the fridge. Cheese is uncountable, right? But also we can say there aren't any apples in the fridge. Apple is plural and is countable. Okay, so for negative sentences, we can use any. And also, we can use any for questions. Okay, is there any cheese in the fridge? Or are there any apples in the fridge? Ok, entonces utilizamos some y any para plurales contables y para incontables. Ok. Questions until here? ¿Alguna? ¿Alguna pregunta? ¿Algo que no les haya quedado claro? Espero que estén tomando nota porque luego les voy a preguntar, ¿ok? So, here we have exactly the same. Tenemos el mismo cuadro de cómo utilizar any y cómo utilizar some con contables e incontables, ¿ok? Hay algunas excepciones en las que podemos utilizar some y podemos utilizar some, por ejemplo, aquí en plural countable nouns, cuando hacemos preguntas, a veces podemos utilizar some, pero cuando estamos ofreciendo algo. For example, would you like some, okay? Would you like some coffee? Estoy ofreciendo algo, por eso puedo utilizar some en esta pregunta, cuando ofrezco algo. Luego, cuando pido algo, cuando I am asking for something, cuando pido algo, por ejemplo, can I have some coffee? Okay, ¿me puedes invitar café? Can I have some coffee? Y cuando estoy dando sugerencias, también puedo utilizar some. Okay? For example, here we have the example. It says, why don't we some? Or for example, why don't we eat some pizza? Okay? Entonces, en estos tres casos hay una excepción en la que se puede utilizar some en preguntas para ofrecer algo, para invitar algo, para pedir algo y para sugerir algo. Son las tres situaciones. Okay? Good. So, here I have some quantifiers. For example, I have a little, lots of, how much, too much, a few, not much, not, too many, not many, a lot of, and how many. Por si acaso estos dos son separados, no sé por qué se juntaron acá. Okay? So you are going to help me to place all these quantifiers in the correct place. Okay? For example, a little. When do we use a little? What do you think? For countable or uncountable nouns? Yo quiero
Uncountable.
uncountable. Aquí pueden fijarse en los ejemplos que tenemos. Y ustedes fíjense
Yes.
si lo que le sigue es contable, incontable, plural, singular, ¿ok?
Okay,
So,
teacher.
here we have, a little is for
Uncountable.
uncountable nouns.
Uncountable.
For a large quantity or for a small quantity? Or question. What do you think? A little.
For a small quantity.
Small quantity, right? So we use a little for its small quantities and for uncountable nouns. Very good. What about lots of? Lots of. Countable, uncountable, or both?
Uncountable.
Both?
Uncountable.
Both, right? We can
Both,
use lots of with countable and uncountable, both, okay? So this is for a large quantity or for a small quantity, or questions.
Large
Large
quantity.
quantity, right? So we can say lots of for both, for uncountable and uncountable and a large quantity. What about how much? How much?
Uncountable.
Uncountable.
Uncountable, right?
Yes.
Questions and uncountable questions, right? How
Yes.
much sugar do you want? How much sugar do you want? Okay. How much time do you have? Then we have too much.
Uncountable.
Uncountable.
Uncountable, right? And large quantity, right? Something that you have to take into account is that too much is for a negative meaning. For example, this coffee has too much sugar. ¿Ok? Significa que es demasiado, es un aspecto negativo. Cuando estamos diciendo too much, es algo negativo. ¿Ok? Para un significado negativo. Let's go with a few. A few.
Un poco.
Look at your
Uncountable.
examples. A few. Fíjense sus ejemplos del libro. Busquen a few por ahí.
Ah, yeah. Countable.
Countable, large or small?
Small.
Small, right? A few for countable nouns and a small quantity. Very good. Not much. Not much. What do you think? Countable or uncountable?
Uncountable.
Uncountable. Todo lo que tenga much es uncountable. ¿Ok? Todo. Entonces, for large, small, or
Okay.
questions?
Small.
Small, right? Not much, no mucho. Okay, so for a small quantity. Too many? Countable. Large, small, questions?
Uncountable.
Large, right? And this has also a negative connotation, okay? So too many, okay? There are too many people in this place. I don't like it, okay? Too many. Okay, let's go to not many.
Countable.
Countable. And large, small, questions?
Small quantity.
Small, right? No, not many. Okay, there are not many people here. Okay, todo lo que tenga many es para contables. Todo lo que tenga much es para incontables. Okay, a lot of. A lot of.
Uncountable.
Uncountable? Yes. Large, small.
It's both.
Both, right? Both. Large, small, or questions?
Large.
Large. Lots of and a lot of is exactly the same. So we have two options. Lots con la S, lots of, and a lot of. Okay? And then we have the last one, how many, that is for countable. ¿Ok? Entonces puedes relacionarlo así. Todo lo que tenga many para countable. Todo lo que tenga much para countable. ¿Ok?
Teacher,
Any questions? Yes?
Okay.
yes, me sorry. If too many and too much have a negative intonation, the positive intonation is a lot of and lots of.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
thanks.
Okay, good. Let's see. Let's go to your book. Okay. So what do we have here? We are going to try to complete the grammar panel of quantifiers with the quantifiers that we have here. Okay. It says, sorry. It says, complete 1 to 4 in the grammar panel with a few, a little, many, and much. Entonces, utilizábamos a few ¿para qué? A few for
Countable.
countable. Large or small?
No,
Large.
Okay, a
Small.
little,
Uncountable.
uncountable nouns. Large or small?
Small.
Small. Many?
Small.
Countable.
Countable.
Countable. Large or small?
Large.
Large.
Large quantity, right? Much. Ay, perdón. Much.
Uncountable.
Uncountable.
Incountable.
Uncountable. Yes. And this is for large quantities, right? So here we have
Right.
1 to 4, it says. So here we have large quantity is
Many.
many. So we have to write here many.
Much.
Many.
Mhm.
For uncountable and large quantity,
Much.
Much.
much. Small quantity,
Few.
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 Here we have
little.
A little.
a little. No solamente little, sino que tiene que decir a little. Okay? A little. Good. It says, we also use plenty of and not enough with both countable or uncountable nouns. Okay, so aquí podríamos poner para una cantidad grande, plenty of para ambos. Okay, countable and uncountable. Okay, and not enough. Not enough is negative, right? Not enough, no es suficiente, or enough. ¿Ok? Entonces podríamos ponerlo de esta forma. Good. Here we have much and many. We don't often use much or many by themselves in affirmative sentences. We refer to use a lot of or lots of. ¿Ok? En las oraciones afirmativas, cuando decimos mucho, no lo utilizamos much y many solo, sino que utilizamos a lot of or lots of, right? For example, I have lots of space in my room. No decimos I have much space, ¿ok? Generalmente no se usa de esa forma, sino que ocupamos lots of. It says, we often use much and many in combination with, ¿ok? Aquí tenemos algunas palabras que nos van a ayudar a llenar. It says, enough, few, how, little, plenty, so, too many, and too much. ¿Ok? Entonces, let's see. ¿Qué podríamos poner acá? ¿Con qué lo utilizamos?
How?
How, right? How many or how much? Esperen, dos personas están aquí que se salieron. Okay. How many or how much we say, right? And in questions. And para
Two.
enfatizar, ¿qué decimos?
2.
Two.
To, right? Or so. En este caso, para que no sea negativo, decimos so many. Okay? There are so many people, there are so, or we can say too many people or too much. Okay? And here we have 2 examples. How much time do you spend organizing your desk? I have so many clothes, I don't know where to put them. Okay, let's go with a few and little. We have here, we use very few and very little to say that we think a quantity is not sufficient. Okay, cuando no es suficiente, very little and very few. I have very opportunities to stop and tidy my desk. I have very free time during the day. So what do you think here? What do we write? Few or little?
Few.
You?
Few. Why? Why few and not little?
Because opportunity is countable.
Very good. Opportunities is countable. And here we need to write little. Right?
Leader, yes.
Because time is uncountable. Very good.
Uncountable, yes.
So let's see here. Enough, plenty, too much, and too many. We use to say that a quantity is more than necessary. We often use it to criticize or complain. What do you think is this?
Enough and plenty?
Too much,
Too
right?
much. Too much.
Como decimos es más de lo necesario. Too much, demasiado. Generalmente, como les dije, era algo negativo. Lo utilizamos para criticar o quejarnos de algo. To complain or criticize. So, too much
Too much.
and too many. Okay? We use to say that we have a large quantity and it is more than sufficient. What do you think is this?
Plenty?
Plenty, right? Very good. And we use to say that we have sufficient quantity.
Enough?
Enough.
Enough?
Enough, right? Very good. So these are all the quantifiers that you can use. Questions until here? Any doubt that you have? Okay, good.